Okay, so this logo right here is your webcam photo booth. Now what I'm going to do is make a shortcut on all these computers to the folder that you're going to ask me questions about. It's in Computer, Documents, Photo Booth Images. This one is Photo Booth 1. It's whatever you call it. This is where all your screens are saved. So when it goes live, it'll have the buttons and everything else.
Wait, what are those for?
You know when you hit start?
Yeah.
Picture 1, Picture 2, Picture 3, Picture 4.
What is the difference between all those, though?
Nothing, but those could be anything you want to put there. The numbers are just directories to the software. So it's telling...
So like the different pictures.
It's telling the software on picture number 1, when it goes to take it, this is the background it wants to show.
Yeah, okay.
Picture number 2, same thing. Background, it's a little confusing. Background is your logo that you're going to put at the bottom. Or if you wanted to make cheetah print behind the strips instead of it being white.
All right.
Everything else in here, it's going to make this folder as soon as you start the program anyways. If you want to change something, the only thing you need to change is this background. Don't touch anything else in here.
Well, what about... That's just for the background is what you're saying.
That's just the logo that we're going to make.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You said don't change anything. What we need to change the logo, right?
Yeah, that's the only file you change, but it has to stay the same name. It has to say background.jpg.
Oh, you mean don't change the name. Okay.
Right.
Right.
It won't.
You meant, like,
You're just going to call it background, but whatever you make for the background needs to be a JPEG. All right, so this is your directory. Now let me go back one. What I suggest you or anybody else does, create a shortcut to it, drag that to the desktop. That way, if you somehow they change the settings and it's not looking in this folder, you know where to find that folder right off the bat, and it's on the desk logo. So I have your shortcut. Whenever you need to make a new logo, you're going to open
that and go to that.
Then you're going to right-click on that, and you want to open this with your Photoshop. If it's not there, choose the default, and then go find Photoshop. It's set up right now to when I hit start, it's automatically going to work.
Why is it black and white?
Because it's set to black and white over there. If they hit color, it'll... Alright, so your key issue, if you're ever on location and your touchscreen is not working, it's installed in this computer already. So it's not the computer, it is this cable in the back of the screen, and it is... Okay, so now it works. Okay, escape. Okay, so this is your main screen.
How'd you get there?
Okay, let me exit out. Photo booth webcam. Move that dead center. It says webcam photo booth. So you double click it. Opens up. Now the first thing you want to do is go to your printer setup. You click on that. It's using the high tie, which is the photo booth printer, and it's doing 4x6. So that's what paper's loaded into it. So that's all you need to know there. You can hit test print. It'll spit out a demo of whatever it is you got in there. Okay, so you get your printer set up where it needs to go. Your print layout. This is how it's going to print. See, best mom ever. That was the last photo booth that went out. All these numbers, if you adjust it, let's make that 70. To adjust, you must select these 3 little buttons. As you change these numbers, it's going to give you a live view of where you're moving it to. So if in the future they need to have 3 pictures on it and then like a giant logo but bigger pictures than this, you can adjust each picture to whatever size you want. But these are the basic setups here. Once you get your setup the way you want, I hit export. See it? And then you pick where you want to send it to that you're going to know, and just call this your photo booth setup or layout. Photo
Where's that going to go?
Booth
once you save
layout. Right now it's sending it to photo booth files up here, which that could be anything you want. So if I hit the drop down, you could save it to your desktop, anywhere you want. It's just your file. Now when you save this, it's just going to save exactly what you see here. So even if you change the logo later, when you hit import setup or import layout, this logo will come back even though you've changed it. So that's when you need to know where that folder is I made on the desktop that's over here on the desktop.
Because it's going to be that one that you saved.
Right, because you need to go in there and change that again.
You're right, you got to go to
which
printout layout. The thing that you went over here, right?
No.
To change it, you do, right?
It's your print layout.
Yeah.
But when you import, if you export this now after you set it up, and you don't have your new logo in there, and somebody else messed up somewhere and you need to reset up your screen to look like this, because a basic 4x4 strip doesn't have a logo at the bottom. All these pictures will come straight to the bottom. There's no space. So if you ever see that, which the only scenario that happens is if you select Photo Booth Setup Wizard. You don't want to touch this. If you hit Classic Double Force Photos, it's going to change it back to where there's only 4 photos, no space for a logo. So that's why you export your layout. So if it does happen to you, you can import. But if you export it with the wrong logo, it's going to import the wrong logo. Okay. So once you make your file that's called background, which is really your logo, don't save it in that folder only. Make a folder someplace else that says logo for this date, and that's where you're sending it. Okay. So if you have to import and it's messed up, you just go copy your background, save it where it needs to go. Okay. All right, so that's your layout. These are all your settings. Leave them like that. We don't adjust them. Okay, so it's using the LifeCam HD Sony webcam. So if you had a different one you select there, you could change it. Your still resolution is important because your still resolution on the webcam, it doesn't have a zoom inside the software. So in order to zoom it, you have to turn the resolution down, which shows less pixels, and when you hit start, you'll see less of the screen. See how it's a little less now. If I hit escape and I change this resolution to 720p, which is the biggest this goes, and then hit start, now it shows a lot more of the picture. So once you have it set up in your photo booth, you're going to have to test it that day to see how you can keep out the walls and how many people you're going to fit in for the zoom. It doesn't affect the picture once it takes a picture, so you just drop it. There? It's right on your main page.
Oh, it's right there. Okay.
And it just says still resolution.
All right.
If we adjust our stuff, we can do 960, but 800 by 448 is about what we can do inside our small photo booth.
Those poles.
Right. So, but once we adjust that, that'll be gone. Okay. So video resolution is if we were doing this software will do video photo booth. So if they hit it, it'll allow them to talk for 10 seconds and record it into the computer. We're not doing that, so I'm not going to go through that today. You have your audio source. That also applies to your video photo booth, so we don't need to talk about that. Rotation, if you need to adjust how the picture is going to be, but we're not adjusting anything. It needs no rotation. How it's set up is how we need it. You go to advanced settings. This is your display advanced settings. Right here, most of it's self-explanatory. Number of images to take. It wants 4 because there's 4 on each side, and it's mirror live view. Okay, display. This is the seconds before the first photo. So you want to give them a little bit more time on that one so they can get ready for the picture. After that, you could speed it up to 5 seconds. So it's not waiting. If you got 100 people in there and you're waiting 16 seconds, it's too long. It's just going to back you up. Okay, so over here, seconds to display preview. Okay, after it takes a picture, it used to not be set that way. You can change it to 0 and it'll just take pictures, but it'll pop the picture they just took up for 3 seconds and then it'll go back to take the next one. I like that. Right. Preview. This number, I'd leave it there because it's the duration during process of the screen. So after it takes all the pictures, it needs time to think. Otherwise, you're going to back up your computer by it's trying to send the files over to the printer. So you want to give it a little bit of time after it's done if you're working with a slow computer like this one. If it's a real fast computer, you don't need one. Like done with the whole full like after it takes the pictures, it gives it time before it's ready to take the next set because it needs to think about sending those pictures over to your computer to send it to the printer. Okay, your seconds to next photo. That's what pops up, and it's going to just show you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wait, what is?
Right here, display when counting down to take photo. And this is like HTML, so it's at seconds to next photo at. Don't adjust that. That's by it's saying it there. That's like I said. It's like it's coding. So if by you setting it for 5 seconds, it's going to start at 5 seconds and count 5, 4, 3. It's not going to put the word up there. It's just going to put the numbers. Your font, you could change that. Color, you could change that. That's just for the photo booth screen itself. Position of countdown. This is where the actual countdown is, and that's right at the bottom of your screen. You don't have to adjust that. The 510 talks about your pixels. All these numbers relate to pixels on the monitor itself. So the height of your live view, if you adjust this number, let's say I make it 500, and then hit OK. When I go live, my picture is going to be bigger. Even though you didn't change the resolution, it's not adjusting your view, it's just making the picture bigger.
But we don't want that because it's not
Right,
gonna
because
fit,
you want
right?
to be able to see. So that's why I'm going to go put this back to.
But when you print it, it's not going to be able to, like, the whole
No,
picture.
it'll adjust it no matter what to fit on the screen.
Okay.
This is just, all that is display tab. It's talking about your live view. See how it shrunk it some? So now it's not covering up the buttons.
Right.
All right, escape. All right, so everything I'm talking about here is your display. That's when you go live. It's telling it what to do. Your live view offset from the top of the screen is 100. If you put that to 0, that picture you see in your live screen would come all the way up to the top of your screen. We wanted it to come down and land in the middle of the curtains.
Yeah.
You can enable live view of full screen photo booth shooting, yes. Mirror live view image, yes. And then disable live view when printing. What that check mark there means is when it's printing, it will either just show a screen and leave a message telling them, thanks, your stuff will be printed out in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Or it'll leave the video camera up there and they'll see themselves. We really don't want it up there because then they think it's still going. So we disable that, so it just tells them to get out politely and then get your photos. Right. If you click this button here, enter full screen photo booth mode automatically as startup. That's going to, as soon as you open the software, it's going to go straight to the live view. You won't see any of these settings, anything. And at that point, if you wanted to, you hit escape. But it's easier for you to leave it like this, how it is, so you can change stuff if you need to beforehand, because you're going to set up before they get there. All right, your start options.
All this is already set, though, right? Like,
right, but if it changes, you need to know what's changing.
Yeah.
So if the picture is too wide for the screen, then you need to go change the height of it. If it's all the way at the top, you got to change your offset from the top. Okay. Right here's the main one, your start options. This is once you hit live view and it's up and it has their choices, what's going to control those choices. Right now it's set to touch screen. If your touch screen is not working and you can't change the cables or everything, by dropping down the arrow, drop-down arrow gives you options. You can left-click anywhere to start. This way, you don't lose your money for the day because you can't use your photo booth, but you're going to manually have to click on the computer to take a picture. Okay. So if the touchscreen just does not work, you want to left-click to start, right-click to toggle between black and white.
That's if that screen breaks or something.
That's if the USB cable that plugs into it that tells you you're touching the screen is not working and you can't fix it, then you change it to left-click start, right-click to toggle between black and white modes. That way, it's still the same options they had, but you can manually keep going. We're leaving it on touchscreen. Touchscreen settings. Okay. It only needs 2 actions unless you add more buttons to your live view. If some of them will say color or black and white, and in the middle it'll say start. So each one of those things you have to set the action for it and what those buttons do and where they're located. That's where all these numbers here stand for, your bottom, top, left, right.
So it only has 2 buttons.
2, color photo booth start, black and white start. But there's also inside of here you can change the button into only select color, only to select that. So it won't start, it'll just change the color. And there's a whole bunch of them in here, copies of print, everything. Most of it is self-explanatory after you get the hang of it. All we need is those 2. Now to know where those buttons are, when you hit this, on the video you're not going to see up here on your touch screen any pixels. But over here on your computer it tells you the pixel location on your horizontal and vertical axis. So right at here is 500 for the top, and right here would be 700 for the bottom. So I set my photo booth start for 500 top, 700 for bottom. And I got that by once I opened up touchscreen, I placed an item right where the button was. So when I went over here, I just put the mouse by it to know exactly where I want them to touch. You shouldn't have to adjust this ever, but...
Why is one bigger than the other?
They can both change. All that is pixel size. So this is 700 to 900. That is 1 to 375.
Why does that matter?
Because it's how much of the area does
that
what you want.
Touch.
Right. So
okay.
You can make it bigger. You can make it go from the beginning all the way to halfway up the screen.
That the customers can touch.
Right. So it makes it easier from the select.
I got it.
And that's where all these do. So on my color start, it is my right went to only 900, make it 950. Now if I go to my touchscreen area, you look, now it's bigger.
Yeah, okay.
All right, escape, hit OK. And then that's all the settings in your display. Your next important tab is output. You want it to print and save a JPEG copy. Ask for confirmation before printing. When it goes through its 4 pictures now, before it prints, it'll show a live view of how the strip's going to look, and then your top left corner is going to say print or cancel. So it gives them the option, if they didn't like the photos, they don't have to print them. It's going to save us ink. And I'll show you exactly what I mean.
So who makes that decision?
They do, and I'll show you right now.
Off the touch screen?
Hit start, hit black and white. It'll pop up here on the computer in a second after it goes through it. All right, see? Shows them, says print or cancel in the top left. So if they wanted it, they're going to hit print. If they don't want it, they just simply hit cancel. And then it's going to go back and they can choose to take more photos. You already know that you're printing, saving, asking for confirmation. This number here is how many prints. You times that number by 2 because it cuts it in 2. So if they only want 2 prints per picture, then you hit 1. So we go to 2 because we want to give 1 to the customer, 1 for the book, and then there might be more than 1 person in the booth. So if somebody needs 5 because you see 6 people going in there, then change that number to 3. That'll make 6 pictures. So we really want this on 2 because that's what we provide every time. Okay.
Yeah, but there's everyone gets a picture that goes in there, right?
Sometimes. Yeah, so
you're going to want to change that then to like 4.
But sometimes there's only 2 people that go in there, and they're a couple, so we really don't even need 4. So we leave it on 2 because that's a base. If they want to later on, you can go to this folder right here. This is the folder where all your images will be saved for that night. Set the photo booth images. We don't want that. So you're going to click on that. If you go into My Computer before this, you can go in here, make a new folder, whatever the date, whatever the wedding, and then you select that folder. Right now it's just set to save in that main folder. This is where you need to know where your photos are going. So if you run into a scenario where you print out 4 and you need 2 more, then you can go into your computer to that folder that you selected, that you're going to make your own personal self, and then right-click and print some more. This one is the next main one. This is where all your screen layout, background, everything is. If the directory of this changes to something else or that folder's moved, then when you go to live view, it's going to show a black screen. There'll be a green button, a blue button. There won't be the curtains. All your setup will be gone. So you got to make sure that photo booth 1, where you have all your layout, your background, everything, is always set there because that's where it's going to look. That's why I told you it's a directory. You can't change the names. You can only change the items that are contained in the names. So for number 1, that's your background for number 1 picture. 2, background. Everything stays the same. Just change the image.
Yeah, I do.
So after you set up all of this stuff, you go over here to File and hit Save Settings. And then it's going to say, do you want to save all the current settings? That's your background, everything. So if the settings get changed on you by somebody accidentally clicking that photo booth setup wizard, and it's going to change everything, photo location, everything. By you going to load your settings, it's going to record bring back everything you just did.
I'm going to get mad whoever did that.
So you click that, overwrite your webcam photo booth settings every time. And then when you're done, whoever opens up this next, it's going to be exactly how you just set it up. And at that point, everything here gives you a little blip down here. It's telling you where your photos are going to, telling you where your screen's being pulled from, the print size, your printer, and how you're saving the file. So that gives you the basic layout. You look at that, and from there you'll know if you need to go to your advanced settings to change something, your print layout, or your printer setup.